Dear one, what we want to tell you is this. Find some peace within yourself about this subject. Find some peace within yourself around this subject before we move forward. Breathe. Yes. You are not unfamiliar, and you know the answer that we're going to give you. It's not different than what you've already come to yourself. And with our dear friends, of course. It's kind of normal, isn't it, in human relations, for you to fall madly in love with another and to come together. He loves everything that you do. He thinks you're quite enchanting, different than everybody else, and you're bringing forth information that he's never heard before, and he's quite enamoured of it. Being that he's in this chemistry of fascination with you, he's going to agree with everything that you say, is he not? And you're going to also do the same for everything that he brings forth and brings to the relationship. This is human nature. Because you're coming into this relationship, you're feeling so good about yourself, you're feeling so good about the other person, that when you look at them, all you can see is the excitement, the freshness, the love. And that is a normal part of your life, but you go through living it so often without that love that when it comes to you, you kind of go a little bit crazy. Now here's the thing, after a little while, you start to remember that life's not really like that. Life's not really like that. It's not really that easy. And he starts to disagree with some of the things that previously he might have agreed with you, or perhaps been so caring of your thoughts and wanting to be so nice to you in this stage that he, rather than tell you that he didn't agree, he listened to you with an open heart, with unconditionality. And so we get to the point, you see. It's the unconditionality. You come into the relationship with this sense of, there's no conditions, I just love this person so very much. I can feel it, I've got an open heart, and I have no expectations of this being because I have not experienced them before. And then you start to experience them, and it's wonderful for a time. And then it happens. Whatever it is that happens, but something happens. Perhaps you see something that you don't agree with. Perhaps at some point you sit down and you start to think about it, and by thinking about it, you start to think about all the things that could go wrong because you remember those things going wrong in your previous relationships. And so the next time you come together, you're going to bring all of these expectations with you, going to bring all these conditions with you that you don't even know that you have. They're in the back of your mind, sitting there looking at him saying, he's not doing this thing that you want him to do. He's not the same as he was a week ago. All of these sorts of things. And so what we're saying to you is the conditions have changed. You've changed your conditions. He's changed his conditions and his expectations. It's time. If you want to, of course, if it feels good to do this, we would suggest at this point that a big conversation is needed. A big conversation about, this is how I do my relationships. How do you do your relationships? And you tell him what your expectations are. And you ask him what his expectations are. In other words, there's no point being cross if he walks in the door and doesn't kiss you on the cheek if you haven't told him that you expect that from him every day. You see what we're saying, of course. Either get rid of your expectations or at least give him the chance to meet your expectations by telling him what they are and forgiving him if he doesn't do them and forgets. Because There's so much going on in everybody's life. We think the most important thing for you to do, after of course hearing the advice we've just offered, and you can take it or leave it, it matters not to us. What matters is that you remember your joy, find your joy, find your happiness, remember your love for self, and as you remember that love for self, you will be able to make a decision whether this relationship is the one for you, and if it is not, then let it go, and if it is, do what you have to do to remove the expectations, to remove the conditions, or to at least have no expectation on the conditions. In other words, we know we're going around and around, but what we're trying to do is make it practical for you, because we understand, it's easy for us to say put no conditions on it, but we don't live in the physical reality that you live in, do we? No, we don't. It's much easier for us. And this one is telling us it's much easier for you. It's hard for us. We're living here in this reality. We're standing on the earth. We're mixing it up with everybody else. And we agree, and that's why we're trying to be practical. Either work on yourself to get rid of the conditions that you bring to the relationship, or at the very least, advise the other person of the conditions that you have and ask them if they can match it. And if they can't, then you have some decisions to make. Thank you.